they say you can get whatever you want in this world, but you can't. It's not real. Everyone else who is a clone gets what they want because that's what's given to people is 6 or 7 things. You can watch TV all day, you can sleep all day, you can talk and yap your mouth all day about ignorance. You can punch people, I mean, as long as you're one of the 99%, right? Because apparently there's something wrong with me when I fuck up people. You can be a slave. You're not allowed to not be a slave. They don't like that. Humans don't like that. See, the genetics have bred this way. The other genetics have died off. They've been killed off by the savages. So you have your genetics over here are intelligent. You have your genetics who are savages, dividing line. And as they interbreed and multiply, what happens is, the savages kill the smart ones. And then so the savage genetic becomes the top genetic. It becomes the genetic that all the living creatures still have. And the ignorance becomes the top genetic that all the creatures have because the savages kill off the smart ones because they pose a threat. And the savages are trying to breed because their main goal here is to breed and reproduce so they can have more and more and more to themselves. While over here, that group that they killed off was probably trying to evolve and change things and make things better. And they accidentally made things like knives and guns. And then the monkeys over here got a hold of those knives and guns. And, well, these people were too scared cowards to use the knives and guns on the monkeys. So the monkeys overran them. And over the years, their genetics have taken over. And so what also happens there is that breeds out compliance. Because that group has to stick together in order to survive against this group over here. So they'll kill themselves off if they start, working with the other group or something like that. They'll kill that section they're off. So those who can think for themselves and do not comply with everything the TV or their neighbor or their parents tell them or their child tells them, whatever, they'll get killed off. So the compliance genetic becomes after so many years, you believe the world is real and stupid Satanism and stupid science and stupid Christianity and all that other stupid stuff you guys as masters came up with that you guys can't outthink. If we go by that, then those people have successfully taken over the board. They're savages. They don't have their own thoughts. They can't think. They killed off the intelligent people. But they can't rebel. They can't turn against each other because they bred out those genetics. It's kind of like when I raise a plant. I breed out the crappy plants, and I only want those certain ones. And what does crappy mean? It means whatever I want. So if I could create a plant that would kill the other plants, if I give the go-ahead to kill the other plants, or to silence other plants from growing, if they felt the need to, then, the killer plants would definitely win. And the ones who stop the other plants from growing would definitely win. Because the other ones they wouldn't have that genetic to even fight back against the killer plants. And so eventually you end up with the humans who are like pure psychopaths. Throughout the centuries, they bred pure psychopathy into them. Now, you look at your mother and your children with your psychotic mindset where you think you're the greatest in the world, and that means your family is the second greatest in the world, and everyone else is trash. So that genetic's been bred into the human race. That trait is that's even above savagery when it comes to humankind, is to think that they're better and they need to breed. The breeding aspect here is what began the battle of genetics and continued the battle of genetics, where the breeding is the only thing that mattered at the end of the day. It didn't matter how stupid or savage or ignorant or intelligent or clean or dirty the genetics were. What mattered is that it wanted to breed, just wanted to pop babies out all day, pop babies out. So that's why we see people the way they are, because that's the number one defining factor. So you have breeding at the top of, that's the cream of the crop of humanity. Genetics is the want to breed and replicate oneself. There is no need to have a reason for the species to replicate itself. There is no like, hey, the world needs another one of me. But you can rest assured with the number 3 trait of egoism that they do feel that way. They're like, the world needs more of me. I'm 13 years old and I just failed math class. The world needs more of me. Let's have 7 kids right now. You can see that's like legit what's going on. Maybe you can't see. Maybe that's part of the problem, where the one genetics have the savage have killed off the people who can think, so thought is no longer in the gene pool. Kind of like the story of Tyrannosaurus Rex and stuff like that. Tyrannosaurus Rex went around killing everything, but they had brains the size of peanuts. So it was the best thing there was in the world back then. And the other dinosaurs had brains the size of peanuts too, eventually, at least eventually. And then what they did is they sit around and ate leaves all day, and then the T-Rex just comes up and bites its neck, and its head falls off, and it's dead. Now the T-Rex has won the battle. T-Rex is known as the greatest. And this directly reflects into the human mindset, because we worship the T-Rex. I would say I'm wearing my Velociraptor shirt right now, but I'm not. But the Velociraptor was actually the smart one, so we probably did tear down T-Rexes. But that's how genes work, right? That's how the Star of David people tell us the world has evolved. Like, the Star of David people are trying to trick you into thinking that the world is like thousands and millions and billions of years old. I'm not even sure if they're smart enough to figure out that it's just them in a little storyline here. I don't think so, actually. After analyzing them and interrogating them so long, I'm pretty sure they don't understand that stuff either. They seriously think it's like real and legit, and they believe Rudolph the Red-Nosed Flying Glow-in-the-Dark Invisible Reindeer is coming this year, flying on Jesus' back to drop off gifts to all the poor, starving African children. I really think, I mean, that's what happens when the savages kill off. With their story they want to tell us, that's what happens when the savages become savages. When the savage switch is turned on, then it's dead time for anyone who's not a savage. It's just savage versus savage in the end. So if we're to believe that genetics are real, then that is what happened. And that actually explains humanity, doesn't it? This group over here is such savages that will kill you if you do not worship Rudolph the Red-Nosed Flying Glow-in-the-Dark Invisible Reindeer coming on, and you don't believe he flies in on Jesus' back every year to drop off gifts and to the poor, homeless, African, starving children. He's dropping them off Tonka trucks instead of food. Yeah, that's what Jesus and Rudolph does, apparently. If you don't believe in that story, then these people right here will kill you. And that's also part of their psychotic mindset, the story of Rudolph and their other psychotic mumbo-jumbo, is that they'll kill you if you do not believe in and worship invisible flying glow-in-the-dark reindeer with bright, shiny light bulbs as noses, and that flash different colors, and they ride on the back of this magical man called Jesus who flies through the air, and the reindeers drop gifts down on your head from 7 million feet. Oh no, the story is they come into your house like real slowly. They come into your house real slowly. The reindeers come down the chimney. They sit and they have cookies and milk, and they do that to 8 billion people a year or in one night. In 4 hours, they eat 4 times 8 million cookies. They have 8 billion glasses of milk. They slowly work their way down your chimney 8 billion times. And they deliver a whole sack full of gifts and put them neatly under the tree 8 billion times. And this group over here will kill you if you do not believe every word they say. It's not about, I know you, like a retard might argue that we don't actually believe in that. It's like, oh, really? Like, I actually think you do, because everything else you say is about that level of intelligence. But let's assume for a minute that you're correct and you figured something out. It's about killing people who don't believe every little psychotic word you say, because it's strict mind control. They say, hey, the ground is lava, don't jump on it, and if you do, I'm going to have to kill you because it's my lava, and the lava's going to kill you too, so it doesn't really matter who kills you first. I'm going to do it because you're messing up my lava. That's how the Christianity, religious mumbo-jumbo stories work. That's what they're fully designed to do. They're designed to crush your brain, stomp on your skull, and then right before you're about to die, you're given the option to receive the offering of life I have granted you. Other than that, I'm going to have to stomp your skull completely all the way in until you stop breathing. And that's these genetics over here that have taken over the whole playing field. Fully psychotic, fully delusional, and deluded. And I got to the point where I was like 2 days old or something like that, and I was done talking to humans, because it just, clearly as I got older, I noticed like the allergic reaction was there for a reason, because they come up with all this ignorance. And it's literally all they do. They bred the gene pool into pure ignorance and savagery and delusion and psychosis. And sometimes they begin mad at me because I'm better at it than they are. But I'm like honest and intelligent. So I'm like a straggler over here that they've tried to like crush all those genetics, and I'm like the one who's like over here. But somehow I've like mastered all their skill sets too. It took me like a day or two to master their skill sets. And I was kind of born with like mastery of both the skill sets. Kind of odd how that works, but they get upset. Like the savages, they're still like cavemen. They get upset when someone like is intelligent, and that means you can be a better savage than they can. That means you can, deceive and delude people. Not that I necessarily would want to, but you have to, because the savage apes over here, they get way out of hand, and like you gotta slowly back off from them. Other than that, you're gonna catch a murder charge or several, because the savages band together. That's how they conquered everything. And if you kill off a savage, the other savages get mad, and they'll begin to analyze you and interrogate you and see. And you accidentally say something intelligent, and then they're like, oh, well, you killed him on purpose, didn't you? And something like that, and blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, well, we get it. Underlying, they're like jealous and mad that you're like a better savage than them. You're like a more intelligent savage. And that's how like society is generally ran. Like these Rudolph the Red-Nosed flying and glow-in-the-dark invisible reindeer coming in on Jesus' back people. Which person is not them, but like they'll kick you out of school if you draw a little dragon with a knife. So they believe in you. You're not allowed to believe in dragons, but probably because they are the dragons and they don't want you to talk about them. But you can draw pictures of flying invisible pagan heathen reindeers with glow-in-the-dark light bulb noses and flying in on Jesus' back, or these days you could sell celebrate them flying in on Lucifer or Satan's back, because Satanists and Luciferians worship Christmas as well. And or you could have them coming in on Carl Sagan's back. Rudolph flies every year on the back of Carl Sagan to drop off gifts to all the special, intelligent heathens and savages with psychosis. And so you kind of like look at these people. If you're like a straggler over here with the ability to think, you kind of like look at these people and you're like, whoa, I've got to distance myself from them, because they are delusional psychopaths and they are dangerous to be around. Not because they're dangerous and when you grow up you can't just slit their throats if they come at you to try to kill you, but because they have a whole army backing them, and they back the savagery of the savage. And then that's harder to deal with the army. The one-on-one thing is very easy for the intelligent savage to deal with. That's a no-brainer right there. You could be like a little child and deal with someone a lot bigger than you if you just have a brain mixed with the savage's genetics. So you begin to want to distance yourself from them because the rules are way out of hand and way far balanced in the monkey caveman genetics, which have overtaken the planet. And so you're like, okay, well, just don't talk to me. And then you'll find out eventually, like the savagery and the psychosis of these people and the ego trip of these people. Because remember, the breederism is egoism. So they're full of egoism. And then they'll push their way back into your life. You'll be like, I don't want to, celebrate Rudolph the Red-Nosed flying, glow-in-the-dark invisible reindeer flying into town to drop off gifts on Lucifer's in Allah's back. I just don't see the need to do that, or anything in the world. You're like, I don't see the need for me to watch Jerry Springer today. I just don't see the need for me to do that. I don't see the need for me to sleep 12 hours a day today like you do. I don't see the need for me to eat 18 meals a day like you do, because I don't want to look like Jabba the Hutt like you do. And then, but what is that? What does that make you? That makes you over here the group that they've made extinct. They're like, wait a minute, he's having thoughts. We've got to do something about this. And they'll force your way. I've been traveling 20,000 miles, and they force their way into my life. I will wear headphones and blast music outside the headphones and be busy doing something. And one of these Star of David beasts will come up to me and just interrupt me, not even care that I'm busy doing something. They gotta interrupt me because they gotta talk. They've gotta run their mouths and inject some of their savagery, psycho mumbo jumbo into your worldview. And it's been 2 years. Well, technically it's been 40, but it's been 2 years since I've been very adamant about saying out loud, no talking today. I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm not allowed to become a Buddhist monk. I'm in the nations of the world's most savage people. I'm not allowed to stop talking to people and meditate or anything, because, again, that would place me outside the savage, barbarian, caveman genetics that are the 99% and place me over here with the people they've tried to kill off, the intelligent people. And one could say I'm probably just a random mutation, and they have, they already killed off all the intelligent ones, because the ones who run science and stuff are just con men, psychotic pedophiles. They're no different. They go home and they worship invisible flying, glowing in the dark reindeer flying in on Carl Sagan's back. They think it's real. They really do. They'll tell you they don't, but you can tell, interacting with them, they really get into it. They really think it's real. They really love it. I mean, they're the ones pushing it now. There is no Christians who run any nation in this world. There is no Satanists who run any nations. It's just they pass the torch from Christianity to Satanism to atheism. It's the same people. Those are the people who are telling you. It's NASA telling you that Jesus is flying through the air with Rudolph on his back, and they have the Santa countdown timer. So you know when Jesus is coming to your house to drop some gifts off on Christmas Eve. Yes, you do there. And then you ask never to talk to these people again. And you might be like, I doesn't understand you. You sound like this. You sound like a retard who's got some sort of cock in your mouth. And they're like, oh no, son. This is the way we talk. This is good talk. God kill you. Like, everything from this group over here is just savagery and ignorance. And those genetics won. Those genetics won the gene pool battle. And the psychosis allows them to see what psychotic is. I suppose I shouldn't explain this, because then these people over here are going to be like, he knows something, let's kill him. But psychosis is where you can act completely normal and you are actually way fucked up. And that's a definition of people who believe in invisible flying, glow-in-the-dark reindeer flying on Carl Sagan's back through the air, dropping off gifts to all the starving African children so they can eat Legos in the morning. That is one of the most pure, unadulterated definitions of psychosis there could ever be. But in order to continue to remain like such a good psychotic person, you can never break form from that. And they probably weeded that genetic out to where you break, like this group over here will kill this group over here. If this group is psychotic and this group is not, and this group has learned that psychosis allows them to conquer and kill everyone else way faster, they bred the non-psychosis out. The people telling me what psychosis is are the first people I said a long time ago are psychotic. The psychologists, like with Freud, the fraud. I mean, he's another one of the Star of David people. Of course he's full of psychosis. And everyone below him, like, all those people are psychosis. Like, they're drug dealers, and they convince you there's something else. And then they go kill the Arabs so they can increase their drug prices. And then they kill anyone else on the street who wants to sell drugs of their own and lock them up. And then they're the only drug dealers allowed because they're the super specialized, psychotic, savage cavemen with the ego trip. You see how it all ties in together. I could just go on and on. This video is like 23 minutes long. It's the same thing over and over. But technically, the point of the video wasn't to get into that. It was just to say, like why, how does this happen? Like, every day, I'm like, hey, I want a day where I don't talk to people, and I get to be by myself and not have to interact with people. In fact, I want, like, at this point, I want lifetimes. I want millennias where I'm just like floating in darkness, meditating, and maybe I don't even want myself around at that point. I don't even want myself around anymore because there's just been too many other people, and now I'm too many people to be around too. But that doesn't happen. It's clearly sometimes, like, right after I talk about that, one of the Star of David people will come up and start talking to me about some mumbo jumbo. Wow, or one of the Cheeto gorillas. I mean, the Cheeto gorillas are right here. That is, the Cheeto gorillas are the cavemen, etc. And it's just another name. They've made it so we can't specify exactly what they look like. So let's call them Cheeto gorillas. That's all that really means. There was another name for them, but then it became Cheeto gorilla shaming, so we can't, speak ill of the Cheeto gorillas. Although it's not even like just them who act like Cheeto gorillas. There's Cheeto chimpanzees, smaller versions of them. But how does that happen? Like, how does Like, even when I'm out here traveling in mountains and stuff, someone always shows up. Always. Like, now I had a little base, but going in and out of that base, I would definitely have interactions. When I made my own paths up or down mountains, no one else was doing that. So I was pretty well alone during those periods, but in and out of those areas. And I watched other people too go into the desert, and they said pretty much every day they were harassed.